what we are going through today, as most of you will know, is how to really engage and train your team in SiteApp. So most of you would have set up by now, or if you are brand new, you might be just getting to that phase. But the main important thing to do is to make sure your team are really well trained in how to use the app. It's quite clear on what they need to do. And then if you're having some troubles, which is common if people in your team might not be tech savvy, or they might have had a bit of resistance at the start, then we've got some techniques today on how to engage them using the tools we've got in the app, or some of the statistics you can send out to them to help praise them or engage them that way as well. So I'm going to start today by showing you guys how to set up your team. I know most of you guys will already know how to do that, but there's a couple that might just need a quick refresh, so that won't take me too long. I'll also show you around the user notifications, some of the certificates around storing the training in there as well. I'll then cover a little bit about the internal training you can do to store training records or proof of training, as well as then external training or any other training on maybe even how to use SiteApp and how to manage that as well. And then I'll finish off today's session around just to give you guys some tools for your toolbox on how to build engagement. So that's things around the notifications, the messaging, and the statistics we've got in here as well. And then if you have any questions, we'll jump into that Q&A session at the end. If we do run out of time in the Q&A, don't be shy to add your questions in. I can always chat to you about it after, either by phone or email as well. So fire away. But cool, I'm going to get straight into it. So please let me know throughout it if you can't see one of my screens, because that can sometimes be a bit tricky. But I am just going to jump into the SiteApp Pro screen. So you should be able to see my admin console now. Please yell at me through chat if you cannot see it. But when you are setting up new team, what you'll be able to do is go into the team and users page. Now, the main thing I love to recommend, and I find has the best uptake if you are still in that new onboarding stage, is try and get everything set up first. So try and load some of the sites in, have those forms ready to go, or at least a couple of forms you know you want your team to be completing. Then once you're happy with that, then add the team. That way it's a really smooth onboarding process for your team. They can clearly know what they need to do without everything changing all around them all the time. Obviously, there will still be some things you'll need to change and tweak as you go, but that just helps them have a really good solid intro into SiteApp. From there, if you are adding new team, what you'll do, just hit that plus button, go to the user icon. So that's if, which is the most commonly used way to use SiteApp. That's if everyone uses their own mobile device. And then all you need is their email address and a password. It's really quite as simple as that. That way they use those details to log into the app so they can access it. From there, you just need to set their user role. So admin gives them access to everything, which is what most of you guys will have. Field worker means that they just have access to the app. And then manager is probably the next most frequently used one, which gives them access to the computer and the app, but they don't have access to your details or the payment details either. If you guys work with quite a few contractors, contractors is a good role to use. What that means is it's just like field worker. So it's just app-based, but if they do work for your company and maybe a couple of other companies, it means that they'll be able to be added into everyone's SiteApp Pro account using the same email address, and they'll be able to easily switch between those accounts there as well. Awesome. From there, first name, last name, pretty basic. And then the rest of the information is there for you to add if you'd like to. The only thing I do recommend is just to leave the 4-digit PIN number blank. What that means is when they log in for the first time, they'll be able to set their own PIN number by entering it in when they first log in. Great, so that is all you need to do when it comes to setting up the user. What you can then dive into if you'd like to is the likes of the user notifications. And this is probably one of the first steps that can help build engagement or a little bit more automation within your team for their health and safety. So what you can do is if it's someone who's like a site manager or an admin or has a role where they are responsible for a few people, these notifications are best for them. So you've got action alert. So that means that if someone's added a blue note on a form, if you don't know what they are, let me know and I can go through that with you guys. But if they've added a blue note, that means that they can get notified and be on top of what's happened straight away. Same with troubleshooting forms, so they'll know when instances and near misses have been completed. And then they could also be aware of when maintenance is due. What some people also do is if you've got specific people in your team responsible for doing maintenance, you can assign those notifications just to them, so only they need to be notified and they can stay on top of the job they need to do. Certificate expiry then takes me on to my next point. And what this is a way of storing that training. So this takes me into that training section. And what that is just a way of storing external documents and being reminded when they're going to expire. This is a really good way to get your team to log into the app a lot more and really use it as a tool to rely on for more than just completing the forms. So what you can do is upload documents such as if it's a first aid certificate, if you need to have evidence of that on site, if it might be a site safe passport, driver's license, whatever it might be, you can store an image or a documentation of those resources against their profile so they can access them on site at whatever time they need to. So if we have a look at, let's have a look at Sam for now. And what I'll do is you can attach this to any of your staff. Just jump across to the resources page. Oh, that didn't help. And then from there, you just want to click the plus button. And then this document button here. So that means you can upload that file if you'd like to as well. The final step is to click up where it says documents and choose certificates and permits because that's what we're going to be uploading. From there, if you would like to upload an actual photo or PDF of what this document is, you can then click upload and upload it straight from your computer. So you could ask your staff to send in evidence of their specific training records, if it's a specific certification that they need, and then you can upload it against their profile. Let's use first aid certificate as an example. So I then put the name of the document. You can then do like status. So maybe if there's different levels or if it's current, or you can interpret that one how you need to. Certificate and permit number if you'd like. But the main one here that's important is the expiry. So say my first aid certificate expires on the 17th of April. I'll pop that one in there. And then just quickly click one of the categories and there's training there. So that's a really good one to use for these. Then I just click save. So now that's stored against my profile or Sam's profile. So if Sam's ever working on site, they can open up their phone if they get asked for it or they need to show proof of it to anyone. They can open it up, go to their team profile, click on their name, and they'll be able to see all of the permits or certificates you've stored against their name. The really good thing about this one is they are private. So on the app, you can only see your own certificates and permits as you need your PIN number to access your profile. So you don't have to be worried about any privacy issues here because they'll only have access to their own unless they give out their PIN number to other people, which we don't advise for. Yes, I just got I think it was an anonymous question, or might just be the name, but it says, does the business also get an alert when the certificate expires? So that's a perfect timed question. What you can then do is back to those user notifications. If I scroll down here, if I turn on that certificate expiry, email or an app, you'll get notified 15 days before that certificate is due to expire. So you've got time to follow up with them and redo it. I recommend, as I said before, turning this notification on for whether it's you guys or the admin or the manager who manages this process, so then they can go and contact them from there. Because how it works is it notifies you about all of the certificates that are due to expire. It doesn't do it just for your own one. That's one way to do it. If you don't like getting emails all the time or anything like that, the other two ways you can do it, I'll show you relatively quickly, is on the resources page, you can go into certificates and permits. and that will show you all of the certificates and permits you've uploaded. So when they are overdue, these expiry dates here will show up in red. You can also download this as an Excel spreadsheet and manipulate it how you'd like to if you need to send it off to anyone as a training register or anything like that. At the moment, Carl, you can't change the alert time to longer than 15 days before. It is a set one that doesn't have a setting in your account at the moment, but I will note that down as a bit of feedback and let the team know. Awesome. The only other way, sorry, I nearly lost my train of thought for a second, but the only other way to monitor those notifications, if you find you live in the dashboard quite a bit on the day-to-day, if you scroll down, we've also got this certificates and permits section here. This one here shows you all of the certificates and permits that are due to expire in the next 3 months. So Carl, that could be a good option for you if you want to know a little bit more in advance. However, it's more of a looking instead of a notification to you. Again, as the other page did, it'll show up in red when it is overdue. Then when it's overdue, you just go straight back to where you added it, change the date or re-upload a different document, and then that will have the new one there and you'll get the expiry notification for that next time period. Awesome. I'm loving the questions. Keep them coming. I hope everyone's okay and I haven't lost anyone so far. Awesome. So that is the training for like external training that they might do offsite, or maybe if you want to store internal training records that way. The other option you can do is to use our forms as a way of storing training. So what we've got in the forms page are these staff training forms, and all these ones with the orange icon, this one is as well, it's just been edited, are all of our default forms that we have given you guys. So what you can do with these is fill in these forms. I'll get the team to fill them in on site. They're found in the ad hoc button, which is that orange plus button on the app. And you can have a look for your staff training. So the benefit of using our forms is that it links up to the staff profile. So I'll show you what that means in a second. But what you can do is just use these as a template and customize them as much as you need to. So say you want to use like a competency register, you could edit this form, scroll down, you could delete all of the questions out if you'd like to, with the bin icon here, and rebuild your own form with questions specific to your business. Otherwise, you could also have a good look at these forms and see if they are something you would like your staff to complete. These forms don't work off reminders like those certificates do. What these do is they are completed on the mobile app. When they are completed, because they are our default forms with that staff training type, you can then have a look at the staff training on the staff training history here. So what you'll have is each user will have their own completed form section, and then any quizzes, which I'll get to in a second, will all show up in this training history section here. That's a mouthful. What you can also do with our training forms is on the reports page, there's this training summary in here. So when anyone fills in our default forms, you'll get one big summary of everyone's names and what training they have completed. And if they haven't done it, it won't show up in here. And again, this can be exported. So it's up to you which way you'd prefer to go. If our forms aren't right for you guys and you just want to make your own training, you know, some people do just a one-off at the start. Some people do 3 monthly training forms that they need their staff to complete. No matter which way you do it, you can create your own custom forms. So that's just by adding the name of the form, whether it's a training, let's just be base, I can do training version 1. You would keep it with this form schedule so they can access it from that orange plus button on the app, and then just do training. From there, you can then just add the questions that you need to. You could add some, you know, a collapsible panel to add instructions on what they need to read, and then, you know, get them to tick that they've read and understood it, or however you'd like to do that. What this method does is it means that it's not one of our default forms, so it won't show against the staff user profile. But if you need to get a training report of these, just jump into reports and go to form reports. And then you'll be able to get a whole report of all of the forms that have been completed for that type of form. Great. I hope that still makes sense. The other thing you can do, which I find is a really awesome tool, we've got some great companies that have used this as an onboarding tool for their team. And this is when it comes to not the training in their health and safety, but the training on how to use SiteApp. So what you can do is when you first implement SiteApp, you've set it up, you're all good to go, and you've even maybe set up your team. You could organize to have a meeting to sit down with your team, show them how to use it, or maybe train some key people in the business who can then train their relevant team members on how to use it from there. I find that's a really key part when you first start. So then you've got a good base of people who are comfortable using the app, and then anyone new who comes on board, they can help them and show them what forms they're required to do and how to find them. What you can do if you'd like a key proof of evidence or a key training resource to help train your team and how to use it is you can create a quiz. So if you click that plus button and you click this button here, this form is to be used as a quiz. You could do a induction to SiteApp form or something along those lines. Again, click training. But what this quiz means is that you can set correct answers and give them choices on multi-choice or yes, no, and tell them which answer is right or wrong. So you get a clear quiz score on if they passed or failed on their induction to SiteApp. So you could add in questions on maybe it's what forms are you required to complete each day. You could then add the answer type multi-choice. You could say, let's do a pre-start risk assessment. You could add in some wrong options in there as well. And then you just choose in here which one is the correct answer. That way they can go through, do the quiz, get their answer, know they've been inducted, and then they're good to start using the app. This is also a good tool to induct them because it also means that although they're learning how to use it in the form, it also means they're completing a form while doing it. So they've learned how to complete that form at the same time. Full 360. Okay, so that is the training when it comes to using SiteApp Pro as well. You may find that you want to do refreshers for new employees, for existing employees, or you might want to do a full new induction each time a new employee comes in. But you could create some resources in here as well for them to work off. Great. Okay, I'm going to jump back across to here. I hope everyone's still okay. Please let me know if you've got a few questions that are stuck. But what I have here now is the next way, which is the part I was most looking forward to talking about. And this is different ways to engage your team. So now you've gone through, you've set up the app, you've trained your team, you might have had a meeting, you've told them what forms they need to complete. And now you want to make sure you're engaging them each day while they're in that new onboarding process. So I'm not saying this is something you need to do forever while you're using SiteApp, but it's something that can be really good when you've either got a new employee or you're just introducing the app, or you've found maybe they've forgotten how to use it after a big summer break, and use this to get them back into the swing of things. So notifications can be a really good one to use. What I will say is that they do have control over the app. So if you find they're not getting notifications, they can check their settings on their device to make sure they have turned their notifications on, because sometimes people do turn those off. If they are on, then this can be a really good tool. So you've got either messaging, which I'll show you how to use in a second, but that means they can get a push notification reminder. Corrective actions can be awesome, which means you can assign it to one person, set a due date, and maybe even link in a form for them to complete. And then if you're finding that everyone's checking in, but they're forgetting to check out at the end of the day, so your stats are a bit skewed, the checkout reminder is a really handy tool. That is only available to some packs. So if you find you don't have it when you're looking after this, let me know and I can give you some information on how that pack will fit into what you need. So if we have a look at those notifications, what you can do is jump into this messaging page. So an example is you might want to go, you've had your first introduction meeting and now you want to get them to log into the app. So you want to remind them each day for maybe the first 3 days they use it. So you'll come into the admin console and click the message icon in the top right corner. Sometimes the Zoom camera covers it, but it is up in the right corner if you can't see it. And then you just need to send a message. So you could say, hey team, first day using Site App. You might want to keep it really simple to start. So you could just make your first day goal is that everyone checks in. So don't forget to check into site. You can then do select all or specify the message or customize the message for specific teams and then send it off to them and they'll get a push notification, just like a text message or a Facebook notification. When they click on it, it'll open the app and they'll be able to go through and complete the forms before they've even thought about it. You can also do this if maybe you've made that training quiz, for example. You could say, hey team, I've created a quiz. Please all complete this today. What you can then do is click add, select a form. You can select that training quiz form. Let's pretend it's this one, and they'll get a notification with that form linked in. They can click on the form and then complete it, and you'll be able to see it all through your dashboard right away. For the messages, this is a top-down approach, so you won't get replies back, but it's more like a bulletin for you to send an announcement. So that's the first option. And I find that one works really well. It also means you can target one person in particular. So if you know that maybe Storm checked in, but always forgets to check out, you can message Storm to make sure that he's, on top of what he needs to be doing. What you can then do is utilize our corrective actions tool. Now, some of you might not have seen this one, but it's a really powerful tool, especially once you're quite comfortable with using the app. And what this is it's similar to messages, but you can create a task or an action for someone to complete. So what I can do here is send a message to one person. So I could say you've got a new person coming on site. I could send a message to their manager to remind them to induct that person. So, hey Storm, I could say, use this form to induct Tony today. I can make it to do. Once it's completed, they can mark it as done. I can assign it to Storm. I can set the date to when it's due. So today I'm going to make it due today. And then I can attach that form just like I did before and do that induction form. Once I click save, Storm will get that notification. He'll be able to open it, check his corrective actions of what he needs to complete, and then complete the forms that are attached, mark it done when it's complete, and you'll be able to see it all update on this page here, knowing if he's done it or it's still left it to do and it's an overdue task. So this one creates a bit more of accountability so you can follow up on the people who haven't done that task in time. Great. I hope that makes sense for everyone as well. Corrective actions can be used for a lot of things, a lot of reminders. So I really recommend to have a play around with that feature to get that engagement from your team as well. Awesome. The last one in terms of notifications is on that sites page. And what you can do is when you're adding a site, you can go through and add the site close time. So if I say the site is supposed to be closed by 5, what will happen is anyone still checked in on that site will get a notification at 5 o'clock reminding them to check out. That way they'll open the app, check out, and then their stats will be closed for that day. Awesome. So those tools I find can be really helpful. But what you can also then use is emails from our reports. And this is the last thing I'm talking about today because I don't want to take up way too much of your time. I know everyone's way too busy. But what you can use is the likes of our dashboard tools and our reporting to create a sense of, healthy competition or maybe some incentives if you have the opportunity to, or just a way of praising someone who's doing a really good job. This can be good whether you do it as a monthly report, a weekly thing. If you have a toolbox talk, you could use it as a talking point in it. And it's just a really good way to show, one, you can actually see when they're doing things, which is a real power of using an online system as opposed to paper. So you can see when they've done something, when they haven't. And it's also just a way of showing they've got that accountability and you can see when they're doing a really good job. So what I've taken here are those buckets on the dashboard. So you could send out an email report comparing January statistics to February's. Engagement's looking like it's improved this month. Nice work, team. So you can see that you've got, 20 more risk assessments done this month than last month. A lot more toolbox talks have been done and another incident's been logged. So that's a really good sign that you've got more people using it. You could also then use the analysis tab on the dashboard. Again, this is something that is pack specific, so let me know. Thanks, Jimmy, for tuning in. But I will show you in a second how to find this really quickly. But what you can do is compare different site statistics. So I can say, hey guys, it looks like the practice site has got a lot more engagement than the Orewa site. This is looking really good. Orewa site, pick up your game. Or I could also use it to say, hey, it looks like Feb's dropping off and it's not tracking to be as good as January. Let's try and pick up that engagement. And finally, this one I find works really well if you've got a slightly competitive team, but this is a statistic on the dashboard. And you can say, hey guys, I can see that Toby's done most of the forms this month. James is coming in the second, but let's pick up that engagement. You could even give him a free pie at Smoko or whatever you might do to incentivize your team. But I find sometimes just the praise in the email can help, and it really helps show people who are standing out, and you can handle that as you need to in the way you guys manage your team. So really quickly, this won't take too long. Just the way I found those for those who haven't used the dashboard too much. So this is where I got the buckets up the top here, and you can use a custom date range to get the dates of what ranges you're comparing. I then use down here the completed forms by staff member. So that's where I get the comparison of who's been completing those forms. And then here in the analysis tab, I compared sites. And then I also did it for the last 3 months here. And so you can see what months have having good activity and which sites are contributing to that the most. So those are some really good metrics. Okay. The last but not least thing is using a team leader or a team meeting. This is an underrated way of doing it, but I know we can all get so busy and you've got so many things on your agenda in a meeting, but sometimes it's either using this moment to say, good job to Toby because he filled in those forms, or investigating an incident to show that you have that visibility over what's going on. And then also maybe using it as each toolbox you do or each meeting, picking one topic or one form to find in the app and going through it with the team to make sure they know how to do it. So, hey guys, let's all make sure we know how to find our incident form today. Can you all show me how you find it? Or make sure everyone's checked in and out. Let's cover that topic today. That way you've just, you're retraining them each week. You're doing a refresher so they really know what's going on. If your team's too big for that or you don't have the time, I find the train the trainer model works really well. So if you've got some key people who are really tech savvy or really keen to use it, train them really well, or get them to learn, and then get them to have their goal as training other people in the team so they've got someone on site at all time who's an expert in what they're doing. That can be really helpful. It just means that everyone knows how to use the app, and it also means that your health and safety is going to get a lot better and a lot more consistent on site as well. Perfect. That is basically all I have for today. I hope you guys all got something out of it, but please let me know if you have any questions. We are always here through support. Phoebe and Josh help with the support side and they get back to people super quick. We're always here for a Zoom meeting if you have any questions. When you do leave the meeting, there will be a survey that will pop up. If you have time, I would love if you just took 2 seconds or 1 minute just to fill in that survey. We really, really appreciate all the feedback we can get. But yeah, please flick me an email and I look forward to talking to you guys all soon. And those Q&A questions, just send them through to me so I don't take up much more of your time. Have a good rest of the day, guys, and I will talk to you all next month. Thanks.